He day up and leave us a blessing. A blessing. I'm feeling so blessed. Oh yes. When you leave us a blessing. A blessing. Hands up high. Winding low. Glad you go. They can never happy before. Hands up high. Winding low. Glad you go. I don't want to know more.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so the time here in SVG, it is 8:17, and we are back with you for another commentary segment here on our Activated Mornings program on WEFM. In studio, you have Roleza Samuel and Nicole Joseph Chin. All right, so we are going to be talking on a Caribbean topic. All right, so we are looking at the topic, United We Stand, except when a flag is missing. The young brothers situation, or young brothers dilemma, all right? So I'm not sure how many of you noted that on the weekend, a music video was released with Young Brother. Well, it's the song The Greatest Bend Over, and it is a remake with Chloe Bailey and Molly, all right? So it's a little bit of a remake to that. I guess maybe the thought of it was to put more of a bit of an international spin to it. And a flag was missing. A certain country flag was missing, and all hell broke loose on the internet. Right? What is it, Nicole?
I said 2 flags were missing.
It was 2? Who's the other flag?
Yeah, wasn't it? I think there was either Bermuda or one of the VIs, I think, also had a flag missing. Where to start with this?
You go ahead, and I will try.
I will start with this, right? I consider myself to be Caribbean true and through, right? And many Caribbean people will say this genuinely meaning it. If I were to wear a flag on my chest, I would have to wear about 6 Caribbean flags. I am of Vincentian maternal heritage, so I can't say I'm not sure, right? I am of Barbadian, Dominican, Martinican. So when we think about ourselves, and if we look at our identity through the lenses of a flag, we cannot. Most of us, let me rephrase that. Most of us cannot claim singularity of identity. So that's where I'm starting with. I'm starting with the identity dialogue, and then we can shift it to what has happened. But when we're thinking identity, I like to think of myself, and if you look at my many posts on social media, on LinkedIn, wherever I identify myself, I identify myself as a Caribbean woman, and then I narrow it down to my origin, and I will narrow it down to my location of origin, right? But I always start by encompassing where I'm from. And for me, I get goose pimples, I get teary-eyed, I get excited, I get all kinds of emotions when I hear certain things happening in the Caribbean. I've also been part of many global communities, and what I do when I go to these spaces, I speak of my Caribbeanness first. And sometimes they never heard of the Caribbean, because sometimes I'm talking to people from Vanuatu, and although they are island nations as well, they don't know much about the Caribbean. They don't even know that we are islands as well. So I want to premise this by saying we have to look at our regional identity and strengthen it first. And then I'm going to go into the controversial part of it. Leaving one island out in this instance was not intentional. It was not, and this is not me being Trinidadian and defending young brother. This is me saying when we have something as important as when someone is curating something on our behalves, we again, and I will always say this, we have to be the ones to speak up and say something is missing. But we don't do it in a way where we are so angry or upset or derail, because sometimes that derailment is nice because people say, then that means they will never get to unite. But you have to remember something. The Caribbean region and CARICOM especially, and that unified dollar inside of the Eastern Caribbean, that was leadership in its true essence, because we are one of the earliest global unions of regions, right? So before the Euro, before the European Union, before the African Union, which is now aligning itself and strengthening itself, the Caribbean region, even though we know the Federation did not work out, but CARICOM and the Caribbean unification has really been a model that if we use it well, will stand out and will also show our strength and our power. Now, yes, I'm going to come back now to that flag situation. As he said in his statement, the organizers, the label, they took it upon themselves. Clearly, they didn't get any advice. Maybe they didn't really say, I'm going out to just find flags. And maybe they didn't, I don't know what was on their minds. We would never know. But what we have to do is, as a people, we have to stand up and direct people who are not aware of who we are and our way of generating information. And this is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity where we are to remove the negativity, which is understood and obvious because a nation was left out. The flag of a nation was left out. But we have to be at that stage of maturity to understand. Let's have this as a dialogue where we now make it a teaching moment. And anybody who's not sure about the Caribbean and how the flags are aligned and how the islands are positioned, this is an educational event. This is an educational moment. But the thing that's interesting is that up to now, I don't know, I haven't seen it. But up to now, neither of the two labels or one label or whomever they are has not made a statement. And that's put a lot of pressure on the music industry and particularly on the individual young brother and particularly on relationships because it started to get real feisty and mean. I mean, we went from the flag to going back to the current role dialogue, and I'm like,
oh yes, the dry current roll. Morning grenadians.
I love a good grenadian oil down. I love the way we brand what we own and how we still collectively have something that's similar, but we also give each other the identity. So when something like this happens, it almost tends to weaken the power that we already have. And we don't need this now, not when all the other issues are going on in the world. And I always tell people, the minute one little tragedy happens inside of the region, it affects us all. Everybody has a cousin that might be affected by a hurricane or anything, any natural disaster, any climate action, any climate issue or uncertainty. We will always be affected. And if God forbid anything else that's worse should happen in the region, we're all going to sink. So we cannot at this point be so caught up in something that we all did not have control over. And I feel bad for young brother. I really do. Poor fella, he was under his sheets, under the covers when he made that statement. Like he probably couldn't sleep. He would be saying, I fall asleep until I say something.
Well, it's interesting because as I hinted to you before, we had a similar situation here in SVG with Kevin Little, right? His breakout song "Turn Me On" when it was done, and a lot of the information that I found out was through an interview that we had with him only this year, right? Where Vincey still hold a thing over him because the flag was not in the music video. And like him, it was not as a direct fault of his. One of the problems is that when he showed up, or the persons who were organizing the music video, because of the location where they were, you are going to find country flags for whoever is populating that international space. And in this case, it was in Canada. So you're going to have more flags of Jamaicans. You're going to have more flags of Trinidadians because of the fact that they are populated there more than, let's say, the Vincentians. So even in his case, because they were not able to art, I don't know if they just did not look or they could not find, but the flag was not represented in the music video. And because of that, some Vincentians to this day still hold it over Kevin Little's head, which is why it is that when I saw this situation with young Bredda, I'm there saying, you know what? He probably needs to have a conversation with Kevin Little in terms of how to maneuver this situation. All right. Now, Nicole, I will be very honest with you. One of the reasons why us small island people, and I'm doing that very deliberately directed at you, right, is because we know that not just within the region, when it comes to Trinidadians and Jamaicans, we are termed as small islands, all right? Knowing that Trinidad is also a small island.
Small island with a big currency exchange advantage.
In comparison to Jamaica, but we tend to find that when it comes internationally, that persons, if you tell somebody you're from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they ask in which part of Jamaica is that. So you have to understand that for us as the smaller islands, we are going to take offense to persons not knowing anything else about the Caribbean outside of Jamaica and Trinidad and to some extent Barbados. So when it comes to representation, we want to see our flags represented, especially when it comes from somebody who is here in the Caribbean, right? So which is why I can't exactly fault the Grenadians for, not necessarily being on his case, but for voicing their opinions with regards to this, because even to this day, when we hear, like, I think recently I played a song, Caribbean Goes, I think it was Movado, right? And so he's calling out all the other, it's an old song, by the way, but he's calling out all these Caribbean islands. And then I'm there like, but wait, Vincy girls weren't represented in this song, So I am there like, when you are starting to list out places, we want to hear just about every name being called. And part of it also, and I would also be very honest with you, one of the things that I recognized when I was in Trinidad, I used to question what the civics or social studies teaching was like, because I found that when I spoke with several Trinidadians, it's like they had no clue about the rest countries within the region. And to me, it was so baffling because we here would learn about Trinidad, we hear about Jamaica, we hear about the other countries. We know who the prime ministers of these countries are. But when it is that I spoke with persons who were my age or just a little bit younger at that time, they didn't seem to have that much knowledge about the Caribbean. So you could understand why it is we're going to be very individualistic when it comes to these type of situations, because we are not properly represented. So,
and I understand and agree with you there totally and wholeheartedly. And earlier this year, this actually blew my mind. Earlier this year, I went to an event, a regional event, with regional representation at a certain level. And to me, that level was high enough because it was educators in the secondary school space. But there was a particular country representative that did not know that the twin island state of Antigua was actually, the other country was called Barbuda, and they kept saying Antigua and Bermuda. And I was sitting down there, I was in the audience, and I was cringing, and I had to open up my mouth. Everywhere I go, I just had to say something, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, for clarity purposes, it is Barbuda. And the thing is, there were Bermudan representatives at the event as well. So then they were correcting them, and then the Antiguan and Barbudan folks were also, chiming in. But one of the things, as you rightly said, maybe it's not existing in the school. You see, we have to understand the power of education when we educate ourselves. And when we strengthen that education, not just around the curricular education, but social education and social studies. And we have to understand the value that plays, especially inside of what I will now say are smaller state economies and communities. But, I always, when people say small island, I say, no, big nation, big ocean, because we are surrounded by vast waters. We are economically safe in most cases. where we have our industries, we have intellectual capital. None of us dance in the Caribbean. Everybody has acquired, and that's the thing, acquired the highest standard of education. So we should never feel lesser, even when, and this gonna sound bad, but even when another nation within our region tries to send us that message that we are less, I would say stand up. And this is what Grenada has done. But I feel still like it's a lot of pressure. And it's a lot of pressure because, as he said, the label didn't do. Clearly his homework didn't do. Okay, you got the flags because it had more of a particular population in that area at the time. You still have to go through a checklist. You know what I do? And this is probably weird, right? Whenever I'm doing anything and I'm speaking globally, especially, and I'm talking about the Caribbean, I always make sure I have a map with me. And I tick as I go along when I'm mentioning islands or mentioning cultural, references or what have you. Because for me, I don't want to make that mistake. So if a big label with billions of dollars getting thrown into a cultural experience, making a mistake like that, and they haven't said anything yet,
But do you think they care though? I don't think that they care. They just wanted to get the video out. I don't think that they care about that. So,
but if they really cared, and if they really had a sense of respect for the artists and the artists and the art forms, they would address it differently.
All right, so we have a caller. Hi, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning, Virginia. You're talking about songs and missing people. You check most of the Jamaican songs on them when they're singing and it's calling island. They miss out.
Yeah.
Probably 75% of the Caribbean. Because Trinidad, because Barbados and Jamaica. And that's it. It's done.
Yep.
I'll give a joke. You know Big Harry, right? Well, he was in Los Angeles performing. A big young lady, had the performance. So Vincent was right next to Barbados. He's singing the song on the stage. He didn't realize the crowd. He should have just looked and see the flag on him in the crowd and see how much Vincent and Ben did. And he sang that song. The first one, he sang the song with girls or something. I think that's the name of the song. Girls or something like that. I think we call out all the hot girls, and he said Barbados hot girls. And the man never mentioned one Vincent girl. Boy, that woman take a chance on him. The next time he sing this song over, he forget every other country. You remember saying this? The woman take a. So as the lady, Nicole. Nicole. Okay, I'll get it sometime. You have to be conscious of your Caribbeanness. When you don't go naming countries if you don't know the country name. Stop. Sing by your country. Sing by your country. Leave it alone. But when you start singing about, other countries, go, as the lady said, get your map out, look at countries in the Caribbean and start calling. And in truth and fact, the young brother, just like Kevin Nicole, get caught up with people producers video. He probably didn't even have a finger in the business in the production. He probably just had to show up.
Yeah, that's what he said. He just had to show up, yeah.
But it's the same thing with Kevin Nicole. Kevin Nicole just had to, people don't realize how these things are done.
Yeah.
When a producer and you have to, he ain't want to see you until you're ready for you. So when you get there and you look so weird, where's my country? As for Kevin Nicole. They have to run out and say they're going to get some country flag. And I tell you, back in 2001, St. Vincent flag wasn't a popular flag to get.
Yeah,
it's not that easy.
Yeah, you'd have had to probably get it from a Vinci who's up there, yeah.
I tell you, you have to find that the most popular flag in America, where I live in Oakland, California, is Jamaican and Trinidadian flags.
Yeah,
those are the two flags they get most. So I mean, we gotta understand is that we, like Vincentian and Grenadians, we don't populate the area as much as Trinidadian and Jamaicans. And so the people sell it as business. You will sell the thing that makes you money. You're not gonna just buy a whole heap of Vincentian flag and just have them there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Trinidadian flag is selling Jamaican flag. That's what you're going to be selling. So I mean, give young brother a break. Just like I was saying, give Kevin Little a break. Give young brother a break. He has nothing to do with it.
That's a direct message to the Grenadians. Yes.
yeah. Please give him a break. He has nothing to do with it. We could call out couple Grenadians who do songs and then have a whole heap of Caribbean flag. So, I mean, we all hit each other every once in a while. Give the brother a break.
All right. Thanks, Kojo.
Thanks, Kojo. And the truth is, young brother also said, my grandmother is Grenadian. So it's not as if I want to, hurt or harm anyone. And so it's a ticklish thing, And it's when we infect, sometimes we really don't hear our country get called. We don't. I know it.
So if you know it, imagine us.
All
right.
Country, your area of your town,
Yeah. All right. So I just want to say one other thing, though. What it is that I tend to find is when we are here in the region, we would be quote unquote against each other, right? But once it comes to somebody from outside making a comment about us here, we stand together. We rally behind each other. I know even let's say in the case of the Olympics where somebody is running and our country isn't represented, whichever country from the region is running in that particular race or participating, we rally and we support them as if collectively we stand behind each other. But I know that is sometimes for these little things that we do have a little bit of a social media, outrage, right? But I also want to end with this as well too, is that we have to give commendations to the influencers, several influencers, not just within the region, but those who come here from internationally, who are traveling from the different islands and exposing us through social media on the different ways of life within the Caribbean, different carnivals, etc. So we also have to give commendations to the influencers who are making many of us more aware of what's happening within the countries within the different islands that make up the Caribbean. All right. So I know that somebody is trying to call, but we are going to have to end at this time. If anybody else has any additional thoughts, we would have to take it up. All right. If anybody has any additional thoughts, we're going to have to take it up after at 9:20. I'm not sure where that extra sound is coming from, but all right. So we are heading on out at this time.